One of the most iconic nonprofit organizations in the world is the American Red Cross, and we are honored to have with us on NoCoLink today Erin Mounsey, the Executive Director of the Northern Colorado American Red Cross. Welcome to the program, Erin.
Janice, thanks so much for having me on today, and thanks for helping us tell the Red Cross story in our communities.
Our pleasure. We're glad to have you. Well, what is the vision and the mission of the American Red Cross?
Well, your American Red Cross, first off, we're a humanitarian organization and we're led by volunteers, and with our primary focus being to provide relief to victims of disasters, and we want to help our communities prevent, prepare for, and respond to emergencies. As our vision as a whole, the American Red Cross, we empower ordinary individuals like you and myself to perform extraordinary acts in the face of emergencies. We mobilize, we connect donors and those who want to help with those who are in need. It's really as much about where there's an urgent need, there's a helping hand ready to go, and whether it's a hurricane or a heart attack, a call for help, the American Red Cross is going to be there.
That's very true. They are always there. And you have a unique story about how you got involved with the American Red Cross. Would you mind to share a little bit about that with us?
Sure, Janice. It's something that really makes me feel just honored to be a part of the American Red Cross, because I was once one of our clients in a very extraordinary way. I'd known about the American Red Cross growing up, mainly through taking life-saving courses, swimming, and things like that when I was a child. But I really didn't quite understand the organization as a whole. And it was really until tragedy struck my own life. And while remodeling my home in Durango, Colorado, fumes from lacquer thinner hit a pilot light, and boom, in the flash of an eye, my whole world changed. And I was very fortunate. I was able to escape the house. I suffered extraordinary burns, and quickly I'm into a medically induced coma and in the hospital. And it was while I was recovering in the hospital that I started hearing these stories about how people came together in our community and helped out. And I started hearing about how the American Red Cross was there that day with their volunteers, and just so many wonderful things that those volunteers did in our community that day to make sure that my friends, my neighbors, my family had their basic needs taken care of. And that was really something that I dreamt about while I was there in the hospital, about maybe volunteering with this organization one day. And it's just absolutely an honor to lead the organization in Northern Colorado today.
Thank you for all you do to serve our community. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Janice.
Tell us what programs and services the American Red Cross offers.
Yeah, so we have 5 great programs that you'll find anywhere in the country with your American Red Cross. And starting with our disaster services program, that's what people know us probably best for, because we make the high-profile disasters around the nation. Things like the spring storms, where we had Minot, North Dakota, and Joplin, Missouri affected this last year. And these are the extraordinary disasters that we respond to, but also the single-family fires, which we see hundreds and thousands of throughout each year. And that's what we see 90% of our disasters right here in our community. That's where our volunteers are going out to really provide that shoulder and that hope to those families with food, shelter, clothing, making sure their emergency needs are taken care of. Our health and safety programs are where we're teaching life-saving skills: first aid, CPR, AED, water safety, even how to save the life of a family pet, and babysitting. Some great courses there where we're training over 2 million members of our community each year. Our Service to Armed Forces program, this is where we're providing emergency communications, connecting family members with their loved ones in the military, and we do this hundreds of thousands of times each year. Our Blood Services program, we have over 3.5 million donors throughout the country who give of their time and their blood to ensure that those who are in need of blood products have it available to them. Here in Colorado, we don't compete with those who are already collecting the blood supplies. Instead, we have to advocate to ensure that our community members know the importance of maintaining our nation's blood supply. With our international services, we're responding to disasters and major disease outbreaks like malaria and HIV, and helping over millions of people throughout the nation, and also connecting those who are torn by war and tragedy, and connecting their families back together when they're separated.
And Erin, what kind of disasters do we see most often here locally?
Well, here locally, probably the most common disaster, and this is really what we see throughout our nation, is the single-family fire. this is much like what I experienced myself years ago. Just say, it can be as simple as a candle that gets tipped over, a cooking fire, things like this. But single family fires are really one of those events that disrupt families with this really a tragic set of circumstances that can put them out of house and home in the most abrupt fashion. And our volunteers are there to provide those basic needs back to those people and a plan on how to get back on their feet again and hope.
And as previous client and the executive director now, how does it feel for you to work right alongside the volunteers that helped you?
Well, Janice, it's extraordinary to work with those volunteers, and that's what I love about the American Red Cross. It is truly a volunteer-led organization, and I appreciate our volunteers on so many different levels. And I think about times recently that I've had the opportunity to watch them responding to fires here in our community, and really being those individuals who help to ensure that family who's affected. I'm thinking about just a recent fire in Loveland where multiple families were displaced over a 6-unit apartment fire, and our volunteers not only going right there to the site the day of, but days after at the hospital, and reassuring those who were affected and really helping them build a plan to get back on their feet again. And that's where I really see the rubber hitting the road with the Red Cross.
Yeah, the volunteers are amazing, that's for sure. Well, are there any significant disasters that stick out in your mind?
Disasters are extraordinary, and of course there's the large ones like the earthquake and tsunami in Japan over this last year that really was impactful. In the spring storms, we had one of the most significant disaster seasons on record with the American Red Cross this year. But then I even think to what we experienced right here in our communities with the Northern Colorado tornadoes in 2008. We always need to be prepared for the big ones as well.
That's for sure. Well, I know that after watching this program, there are going to be a lot of people who would like to get involved. And tell us about some of the ways that they can get involved with the Red Cross.
Well, most importantly, we need the support of our communities. So we'd hope that people will give. And we've even had recent gifts like the truck here that was donated by Larimer County. And there's a lot of different ways to give, financially, through in-kind gifts, but support your Red Cross and make sure that we have the resources so that those volunteers really can get out and provide that hope to those families in need. There's also the opportunity to volunteer, become one of those individuals. But this is not your regular volunteer opportunity. This is not 2 hours on a Saturday. This is really a commitment that you're going to make. We're going to train these individuals, and hopefully that they're going to be there to really get up at 2 in the morning and go out when these disasters occur and help folks out. There's also teaching our life-saving skills in health and safety classes, or possibly helping to communicate one of those emergency messages. So lots of different ways to get involved as a volunteer.
Well, thanks for being with us on the program today, Erin. We really appreciate it.
Janice, thanks so much for having me on. It's really a pleasure to tell the story of the Red Cross, and I know that together we can transform a life of crisis into a life of hope.
That's for sure. Well, if you'd like to have more information about how you can get involved with the American Red Cross, contact the American Red Cross at coloradoredcross.org or call them at 1-800-RED-CROSS. Don't go away. We'll be right back.